In the echoes of time, from ancient pottery marked by chords to neon lights painting the cityscapes, lies a tale of resilience, transformation, and undying spirit. A tale where emperors and samurai, monks and modern innovators each play their part in a story that spans millennia. Today, we embark on a captivating odyssey through Japan's remarkable history. From the dawn of the Jomon period, through the flourishing of the Heian era, to the modern-day marvels of the Reiwa era, witness how a nation forged its identity amidst adversities and innovations. Fasten your obi and ignite your senses as we journey through Japan's extraordinary tapestry, where tradition seamlessly dances with the future. Join us in this luminous voyage through the land of the rising sun. Delving into the mists of ancient Japan, the journey begins with the Jomon period, which spanned from around 14,000 BC to 300 BC. The term Jomon translates to cord-marked, which is a homage to the era's distinctive pottery. The pottery was adorned with intricate patterns and was made by impressing cords into the wet clay. The Jomon people, primarily hunter-gatherers, forged an existence deeply intertwined with nature, leading a semi-nomadic lifestyle. As the Jomon era gave way to the Yayoi period, which spanned from 300 BC to 300 AD, a pivotal transformation was underway. The Yayoi era witnessed the introduction of wet paddy rice cultivation, a practice that migrated from the Asian mainland. This wasn't merely an agricultural shift, but a societal one. The establishment of permanent agricultural communities led to more structured societies, giving rise to social hierarchies and the precursors of the Japanese state. Fast forward from the Jomon and Yayoi era, the Asuka and Nara periods arrive. These stretch from the mid-6th to the late 8th centuries. This time period marked the emergence of the Japanese state as we know it. One of the most transformative events during this time was the introduction of Buddhism. Originating from the Indian subcontinent and filtering through Korea and China, Buddhism didn't just bring spiritual teachings to the archipelago. It also ushered in a tidal wave of artistic, architectural, and philosophical influence that would intertwine deeply with Japan's indigenous Shinto beliefs. Parallel to this spiritual renaissance, the Asuka period also witnessed the ambitious Taika reforms. These reforms, inspired by the Chinese Tang dynasty's centralized system, sought to consolidate imperial power, standardize administration, and reshape Japanese society. Next came the Heian period, which spanned from the late 8th to the late 12th century. This period was the golden age of Japanese culture, considerably an era marked by refinement, aestheticism, and intellectual flourish. The capital's shift from Nara to Heian-kyo, modern-day Kyoto, marked the beginning of this illustrious period. The court society indulged in artistic pursuits, and it was within this sophisticated milieu that the world was gifted with The Tale of Genji. Often regarded as the world's first novel, this epic narrative is more than just a tale of romance, politics, and intrigue. It is a mirror reflecting the etiquettes and sensibilities of Heian court life. Every chapter, every poetic exchange within the text paints a vivid portrait of an era where art and literature were paramount. As the tranquility of the Heian era ended, the Kamakura period, spanning the 12th to the 14th century, dawned upon Japan, heralding the ascent of the iconic samurai warrior class. At the heart of this transformative age was Minamoto no Yoritomo, a figure whose ambitions would redefine Japan. Breaking away from the ceremonial realm of the Heian court, Yoritomo asserted his dominance after a series of tumultuous civil wars and established the Kamakura shogunate in 1192. This marked a seismic shift in power from the emperor and court nobles to the military might of the samurai. With the shogunate in place, the samurai not only became the stewards of law and order, but also the de facto rulers of the land. Yet this newfound stability was to be tested. In the 13th century, vast Mongol fleets, under the banner of Kublai Khan, twice attempted to subjugate the Japanese islands. The Kamakura period, with its dramatic power struggles and external threats, solidified the samurai's position in Japanese history. This laid the groundwork for a warrior-dominated governance that would persist for centuries. If you're finding Japan's journey through centuries fascinating, do take a moment to hit that subscribe button and see more complex histories and ideas condensed into just a few minutes. Moving on, as we journey further into Japan's intricate past, the Sengoku period, spanning the late 15th to late 16th centuries, emerges as a time of intense upheaval, characterized by incessant warfare and political fragmentation. This age of warring states saw regional lords clashing for supremacy with shifting alliances. Yet from this chaos emerged three figures whose ambitions and strategies would converge to reshape the fate of Japan. Oda Nobunaga, the first of the three, employed innovative tactics and embraced foreign technologies like firearms to establish dominance. His vision, however, was cut short and left to his successor, Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Hideyoshi, rising from humble origins, accomplished what once seemed insurmountable, the unification of Japan. But it was Tokugawa Ieyasu, the astute and patient strategist, who finally cemented this unification after defeating his rivals at the Battle of Sekigahara. Ieyasu's victory transitioned Japan into the Edo period. This era, lasting over 250 years, saw an unprecedented peace and cultural flourishing as the nation found unity and identity under the Tokugawa rule. Venturing into the Edo period, spanning from the early 17th to the mid-19th century, Japan made a dramatic choice that would define its identity for over 2 centuries: isolation. The Sakoku policy strategically isolated Japan from foreign influences, especially European colonial powers. It limited trade and foreign relations, with few exceptions like the Dutch trading post. Yet, as decades turned to centuries, the world outside grew ever more interconnected. By the mid-19th century, Western powers, keen on establishing trade and refueling stops for their whaling ships, set their sights on Japan's shores. That's when, in 1853, American Commodore Matthew Perry arrived near Edo, now Tokyo, with his black ships, jolting Japan into realizing they needed to change. Armed with superior technology and backed by the threat of force, Perry's ultimatum compelled Japan to reconsider its centuries-old policy. The subsequent treaties signed in the wake of the black ships marked the beginning of the end for Japan's self-imposed isolation, setting the stage for a rapid modernization and a new era of global engagement. As the Edo period's twilight began to cast its shadows, Japan stood on the precipice of an era-defining transformation, the Meiji Restoration. The Tokugawa shogunate, which had held sway for over 250 years, was increasingly seen as ill-equipped to navigate the challenges of a rapidly changing world. Discontent brewed, leading to a swell of support for a revolutionary idea, the restoration of political power to the imperial throne. By 1868, this idea had turned to action, culminating in the fall of the shogunate and the ascension of Emperor Meiji as the unifying figurehead of Japan. But the Meiji Restoration was not merely about a shift in power. It was an ambitious blueprint for a new Japan. Determined to save their nation from Western colonization, Japanese leaders embarked on a sweeping campaign of modernization. They sent emissaries abroad to study Western technologies and philosophies. Railways, factories, and modern infrastructure began to crisscross the archipelago. A new constitution was drafted, and a centralized government was formed, drawing inspiration from the best of Western governments. Within mere decades, a once feudal Japan emerged as an industrialized nation, poised to hold its own on the global stage. As the 20th century dawned, Japan found itself at the crossroads of ambition and global geopolitics. The Russo-Japanese War of 1904 to 1905 marked Japan's audacious stance against a European power, with a resounding victory over Russia that shocked the world and solidified Japan's emerging status as a formidable force in East Asia. This was further underscored during World War I, where Japan, aligned with the Allies, saw an opportunity to expand its territories, capturing German-held regions in East Asia. The post-war era witnessed Japan joining the League of Nations, an emblem of its rising global stature. However, the following decades were marked by an increasingly aggressive and expansionist strategy. Driven by the need for resources and a vision of Pan-Asian unity under Japanese leadership, the empire embarked on a campaign across Asia, annexing territories and establishing puppet regimes. This expansion, coupled with complex geopolitics, eventually led Japan into the throes of World War II. As the conflict reached its tragic crescendo, the world bore witness to an event of unparalleled devastation: the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. These cataclysmic events not only ended the war, but forever shaped the discourse on nuclear weapons and the profound human cost of war. In the immediate aftermath of World War II, Japan, once an imperial power, found itself under U.S. occupation. This period was transformative. From the ashes of war, Japan was to be reborn. Central to this rebirth was the drafting of a new constitution in 1947, which renounced war, ensured civil liberties, and established Japan as a pacifist nation. But perhaps the most astonishing chapter in Japan's post-war story was its meteoric rise from a war-torn economy to a global economic juggernaut. By the 1980s, fueled by innovation, diligence, and strategic policy, Japan's economic miracle had made it the world's second-largest economy. Entering the Reiwa era in 2019, Japan's cultural exports, from the mesmerizing worlds of anime and manga to groundbreaking technology, captivated global audiences. Yet Japan is more than just its pop culture. As a member of the global community, it now navigates complex relationships, whether through its historical ties with neighboring countries or its active role in global organizations. Contemporary Japan stands as a testament to resilience, reinvention, and the undying spirit of progress, all while holding a unique and revered space in the global mosaic. Now check out our video on the story about the evolution of Barbie.